and we want to welcome you to our reading tonight. Thank you very much for spending the time. We're aware that you have a lot of choices and there are a lot of things that you could be doing, and we're grateful that you want to be here with us tonight. Let me just say a word about virtual readings. We all, of course, would like to be meeting in person, but since that's not possible at this point, we say thank you for virtual readings. My lovely wife Jane and I and our poet tonight, Ashley Toliver, are here at the Willamette Falls Media Center, and I'm going to introduce Ashley in just a minute. Before I do that, let me make some thanks. First thanks is to the city of Milwaukie, who have been supportive of the poetry series from the beginning. Secondly is the Letting Library. We're a committee of the Letting Library, and the Letting Library has also been supportive. Thirdly is the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee. We do have an active committee, and as you know, you don't have things happen unless you have a group of people working on it. So we're very grateful to the Poetry Series Committee. And finally, to Willamette Falls Media and to our technician guru here, Josh Reynolds, who is the person that is making all of this happen. You're in for a treat tonight. If you go on Ashley Toliver's website, you'll find this about her book, Spectra. Generous, penetrating, relentlessly sonic poems that record the creative potential of the body and the boundaries of the self. Our poet tonight is Ashley Toliver, and Ashley is the author of Spectra from Coffee House Press in 2018, a finalist for the Kate Tufts Discovery Award and the Oregon Book Award that year, and a chapbook, Ideal Machine. This is from Poor Claudia, 2014. A poetry editor at Moss, her work has been supported by fellowships of the Oregon Literary Arts, the Cave Caddam Foundation, and the Academy of American Poets. She received her MFA from Brown University in 2013. You can learn more about her at our website, www.ashleytoliver.com. We are going to have a question and answer after Ashley's reading, so if there is some question that you want to ask, just put it in the chat, and what we will try to do when we get to question and answers is to take some questions from the chat. So, would you join me in welcoming our poet tonight, Ashley Toliver?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I don't think I've read a reading series before that's been around for 15 years, so I'm very excited. Yeah, this is amazing. So, I'm going to read you some poems. They're from this wonderful book. It's called Spectra. You absolutely should purchase it if you haven't. I've been trying to think about where I want to start, and why not just start at the first poem, right? It's the first, just put it there for a reason. It's also the earliest poem, or the first poem I wrote in this book in time. So, this poem is called Kinesis. Though all bird-legged creatures fear the same distance, it is instinct that pulls them to standing. In the museum, their bodies like sea glass and astonishment. The specialist says we can classify species by measuring height with our hands. All but the smallest flamingos must stand 8 palm lengths from the earth. Their legs are the width of paper clips. This kind of gauging is necessary. To a child, the globe is cross-hatched dark blue, and it is. Mathematics form a tent frame. In this way, a sunrise is one kind of blood, oxidizing. Today, I read in the New York Times that Africa is splitting in two. Land is metastasizing, spilling open and sinking. Ethiopia is covered in holes. I say I am speaking in present tense, but all scientists say we are watching an ocean growing at staggering speeds. Can we say this is a continent oceaning? Once I heard a father tell his oldest daughter, "You are a clear pool where light plays," though she had also been an island orbiting a large body. Is this a natural disaster? The thing we feared most in the fires was logic. We watched the flames leap from the field to the trees to the house in succession. Though we found it familiar, close in its grammar, most of us stayed inside. Today, Oakland firefighters are made out of paper. They write birch-soaked memoirs. They have lungs like parachutes and spit up sap oil. Our urgency comes because we too are upright, a vertical people. We are possessed by our margins. I'm thinking of the mother who drowned her 3 boys, why she stopped first to undress them. If she was perfecting a displacement of water, plumbing a violent kinesis. It was late on the pier where one witness remembered. I saw a woman sitting on a bench, gazing at the water, occasionally looking from side to side as if she was waiting for someone. Okay, so we have some time together, which always means that you get to hear the weird stuff, the weird ones. So these are a series of poems. They're all titled Housekeeping. If you've ever been really incredibly tired of doing the dishes every single night, which is it's one of those mind-boggling things that you just have to do again and again and again and again and again. Maybe I shouldn't be mind-boggled by it, but sometimes it can really get a little, even thinking about it right now, I'm just, this is what it makes me do. A bunch of that. So there's a little bit of that in there. Anyway, wow, keep talking. These are all called housekeeping. I'll just name them as we get to them. All right. And they're weird, okay? So let's just go on a journey together. Okay. Housekeeping. A pocketed wailing beneath clean clothes is what? Making hair pulled taut into windows just the same. At the end of my rope is something shaped like tipped sails, the water rushing clean over the hull. There's something we've left behind, but not in the way you'd think. It's how the metal works, cut in emerald poses. We stand to let the green in. Housekeeping. Under enormous strictures, the salt hinges, becomes a fold. Underneath the canopy, I dressed in white like stitches or anathema to waking. A hush at the collar makes binding notes. You smear the water. Past the pointed periphery, out past the lake notes, miming the subject, I stand up straight like a clasp on the light boards, catching favor. In the daytime, nothing lingers. Pull all the maps inside. Housekeeping. A move shaking west in suburban fleet, you pen martyr versions of our softest reasoning. Downtown haze of what we skipped over, flint and a scratch on the lens, street bulb, making a mess of things. Outside, the sodium lamps refuse even a glimmer. Thrush lie under the surface. Awake again during cemetery hours, I hunt for our vows in all the outspoken positions. You never get to the point. Housekeeping. Inside your latest vision of matrimony, we meander in taller chutes and rails. Static underling, I come clad in my birthday shoes for letting the ancestors sleep. The music comes through, or it won't, though you listen in harvest proportions. Gray gaze at the museum wall, light fractures in frame. It's only a small turn. You posture by degrees. Housekeeping. Dear night possessor, your funeral barge rocked tight in the fisting water makes small winter melodies. The light ends a pattern we learned to stupefy by motion or admitting away. A statutory list puts the blame on the hour. You move as I move, whistling measures in saltgrass, patient and guarded processions. At night, the line is a current to wade through. Older names sifting past the flotsam, the water rising up to here. Housekeeping. Away from the glow, a dumb bulb freezes in its wintry malaise, covering the rest of the light. I don slippers and wait for the impact in all the right places, a notebook, a photograph, a letter you once wrote. Of course, we can climb backward into the pulp and pull all the questions from their sharpened hangers. I'm doing it already. See me. I'm pulling all the shredded lace down, quitting in the middle of the song. Housekeeping. A tick of blonde beaming wide, or return to a messier proof. You stymied in the river, just there, just the same. No one comes measuring the granite. No one comes wading in. The sky is a rip in the seawall, cut in two, hairline indisposed in sleep. I can almost see Manhattan from here, where we raise our matchsticks like cutlery, where we are singeing our most decent parts. Inside an ordinary room, our bodies flatten and spread over the furniture like breakers catching the last of the sun. Housekeeping. Okay, there are only two more of these. We're gonna survive. Here we go. Housekeeping. At night, I stand at rapt attention, slamming the kettle water back. I thought planning commensurate with purposely fraying an architecture you entered by looking. Swell and a ghost between, like some perfected anchor leached into the drinking water. Crease in the filigree, mild grace and execution. Housekeeping. Dear stone fruit, I haven't wept anywhere in at least 7 days. Outside, the lunar engine clicks and flinches. I go on gargling with port wine, heavy dashes of clipped lullaby. Dear stone fruit, today's is a season for waking to ankle weights roused from our darkest houses. The light angles over the net in a drastic lunge to pivot. Point, counterpoint, all that we came for irradiates. Okay. This is a poem called King. At night, I am Egyptian and you are the last pharaoh. When the battle is over, I drag your body through cool, blue water. Your blood is diesel on the surface. The birds dive in and out. At the end of your arms, the battering rams are quiet. Underwater, they dream fence dreams, dream splintered wood. The continent is still, but all the shades of gold remember you. Poppy, stone, stars and arches, certain roots and windows, the whole earth in an early stretch of dusk, mirror, fire, they shake. They shake. Oops, not this guy. Okay, this poem has a great title. I really, as you'll probably discover as we move through this book, I have a problem with titles. I think 2/3 of this book don't have titles. So this is like a great triumph of a title for me because just sheer length, you know? It's incredible. It's on 3 lines. What a title. This poem is called Standing on the Lawn Outside of Your House with a Match and a Gallon of Gasoline. This morning in the cupboard, I found your last 1/4 inch of whiskey. Settled amber in the mason jar. Same burn on the horizon, the last Indian summer, you sat naked at the kitchen table, carving the nectarines free from their stones. When the cold math of winter arrived early that year, I thought the first fist you seamed into my cheekbone was to get to the proof, to the pit of the marriage. You asked, if somewhere we find the itch of the lumber, do we find compassion for the axe blade that splits it? I used to lie down inside my own stitches and let the dawnlight farm their black to noon. Now I run like a ragged dog over the tight bow of their edges. It doesn't make any difference what angle I work my heart against them. I still don't know what kind of woman I am. But as the flame nears the fingers that trust the match, as close as the skin can stand it to singe, I call this the nerve to find out. Okay. So, speaking of my title shy existence, this section of the book is called Ideal Machine. There's 0 titles, so that's the thing. I think they're individual poems, but who knows? You know, like who knows? And if someone does, let me know because I don't know. So I'm going to read a section of those. They're all kind of in the same world, narratively and otherwise. Is there anything else I want to tell you? No, that's it. I'm not going to tell you anything else. That's it. All right, these poems are called Housekeeping. No, they're not. I lied. They're called Ideal Machine. Just trying to make sure you're paying attention. Am I paying attention? Who am I? Here we go. Ideal Machine. Here is where I take you. Behind the eyes, a glistening star. Here is where I take you, bone thing I made, a gift, pull it out. Star in me, salt bright and still. Listen, how the cut is made. Across my face could move any feeling. Here is the sight I've dog-eared for you, taut as any waiting, my sudden fold of luck, pinched lightning we can't put our hands on, but you do. My brain arriving through the darkness like streets mapping out this mine, this mine, this mine. In reading this, I'm just remembering my 8-year-old sometimes will just chase me around the house saying those last 3 phrases of this poem, this mind, this mind, this mind. So even when I read it now, I think, I don't know, I just, oh, judging me. All right. In future rites, I lie down on the operating table, glassy and overdue. The surgeons take roll in choirs, hands like night swimmers, bad water below the sea. Under lightest implication, the body breaks through. Under lightest implication, the crocus is pushed through peat as a gesture for belief. Hourglass and tool, meadow sharpened to blade. On the last day, the light, so easy to breathe. Hustle star, weaving the darkness around. A little let on the line, and faces go under a long way. Dear optic nerve, you flatten like copper tilled wide against the tracks. I want to show you how light scatters my daughter's bedroom, her face into unknowing. Dear optic nerve, dear crushed penny, in the dark I watch explosions, axons firing like mortars. I count them, low-hanging fireworks, gristle and verve. I press my face to the glass. I slim to wrench my one good eye over the room like a loaded drink. Everything whirs into focus, then out the air and my face behind it, unwinding the gauze scrim on the scene. We could spend years like this, just you and I together in the same crowded bar, spinning our whiskey for weeks before knocking them back, one by one. The lamplight growing vague, then dim. Where is your face? I say to the dark. Look, everything is turning into everything else. Moth shuttled inside, an empty glass, paper slid over the mouth. Dear ophthalmologist, your hands wag the story I cleave to. On either side of my face, wave fingers, ask me to count them. Dear ophthalmologist, I am not very good at telling stories, how your hands muscle the black pinpricks in the paper, how the dark whistles around them, day a dumb animal limping through the grass. From the observation wing, we can see it gathering size. Slow and sensate, I enter the machine like a lover's black silk, my astronomer flipping on all the lights. Meat of the mind, wrung to transparent, he points to where the shine breaks open from seed, hustle star. Star in me, the bone first anatomical, then moth. Don't we all saunter in innocently enough like love, an uppercase L love? Stamen eye, you metastasize, my sea glass, my meteor. Close your eyes. What do you see? A pocket knife placed in the hands of a girl who turns over the first matter. What can I make? A boy. Begin here. Here where the wood brightens between her fingers, the gate of the mind's redress. With the body she coaxes to peel from itself, like magic, the intent to suture, layer after layer, raking free, vulgar eye waxed, blind to wonder. In the morning, I drag the crane fly dead across the mirror. Seeping, I gather what's left. Legs curled to pills, one after another. In this universe, Several species of matter destroy matter. In long conversation, mosses unbraid the trees from themselves, earth into air, into space, where something else was. We are never not alone. We are never not alone. Outside the window, a line curves to curl, to kite string caught in the cypress, one end whirled to nest. There is light in us, yet everywhere we look, tassels unravel into brighter and brighter knots. These are the days outside of all days, my earth wheeling toward you, teeming with self split into jewels, relentless figures I hoarded so patiently. Who brought you here, shadow behind my eyes, to blot out the distinctions between things? Ellipsoidal planets, tethered by blood, my little mussetation, it was my didn't know. The fetus consumes the mother, the tumor consumes the mind. Dear son, I harvested you from this, as any winter saws the youngest spruce on the plain, silencer placed on the note and hummed there, repressive gesture frozen around the snuffed out kin. A lover is always on his way into the room inside the mind. He wants to break the glass casing on the firm grace thump from the bulb. We wait for him. We wait for him. He wants to cut where the cells have listed something to do with his hands. He wants to find where what is burnished is buried, where the air snatches the light to hum against, the light like a grass blade tucked between the thumbs, lunettes of dark against the bone. He wants to catch me between his thumbs, the body strung with ornaments. They cannot fly. They can only stand still. We walk the little halls of my body, pale stepping stones, jarred mercury. Dear surgeon, let's say we try it. Put my tongue to cure it. Let you carve in. At night, the room fills with children, each one of them ours. They flame around in their gene pools, live instruments tuned, shivering the glass, a little resonance, picture postcard, hair behind the ear just the same. Place is a curl, you can touch it. The intersection, a line, drawing back to intervene. Tissue and bone, a moan one makes, the hand that lifts to clavicle, one note pulled to crater, they can sing or forget to sing. Dear daughter, you lived, born before the clean sweep, born before the clean sweep, twinning above you, halo, moot lightning, handful of gray carnations, you appeared analogous in frame, a stitch of beyond me, dull pearls, you began to speak by blossoming. Dear daughter, in an instant I become cinematic. My trigger finger gives silk to the knot and he grows, hustle star in me. Dear son, don't flinch when he comes for you, singing through my brain, my face, lure, you wait, shadows flat under the operating lights, scissor to flower to bone. Okay, just a couple more of these ones. Okay. Surgeon, I wanted to love you, corrected, pulley, screw, lever, torque. I wanted to lie just there, underneath you, patient, silent as space. From the window, The bridge spans clean over the water, the most elegant way to cross the river, the most elegant way to split the face. I wanted to show you how decent it is to make something small so easy to find. Outside the body, you cue the instruments. I brace and practice, lifting my weight through gaps in belonging, the most elegant way to cross the river, the most elegant way to split the face. You opened the woman I was like a flask. You said, just for me. You said, no going back. Okay, this is the last one of these, and then we're gonna move to a new zone. Blood is the first color I spin my desire around and clasp behind my neck. Snarled in my translucency pose, I kneel at the face, black thread inseams, a place you can cross. I wanted to see an indelible edge, a line lit inside the mind, your hands inside me, then lemon brain cells, glittering like night geodes, reeling and numinous. Instead, I lie, whole brain yawning out, stretched against the blue to ride out to. Dear reader, I slept fused to him, a dull sleep of him, blinking on again and off like a strobe. My magician at the foot of my bed, like a scalding vicar. Foamed, my face is a yolk that spreads across air. Rush of cells, coiled memory, wonder. It leaks from us everywhere. Dear tiny icicle, you barely existed, though enough. You were not meant to be mine. You were not meant to be made. I lean out over the bridge, let you fall and burst. I place the nickel in your mewling mouth. Don't remove it. On days when I'm feeling especially cold, I ride through my own icebox of logic. Once I chose life over death. How mundane. Death is the last road to awe, I know. Okay. We survived. The final section of this book is called Spectra. When I first, gave it to my editor, it was only a 2-section book, and I was like, I can't. No myth has only 2 sections, right? Every myth has three sections. I don't know why that was like the little fact that stuck in my head. Also, I think I didn't want to leave everyone on that I'm not, yikes. That's just that last poem's like a downer hour. I wanted to, give a little bit of, I don't know, give something. So this is the last section of this book that I wrote, really up against that deadline. And then it ended up being the title of the book. It worked out great. Always recommend. Write a new section. Who knows what will happen? So this, similarly, Spectra is the only title. There are no titles beyond here. Okay, I'm gonna read a few of these and then I think that might be the end. Okay, Spectra. Here is the first thing in the second earth. Mimosa blossoms, radial mimetic of energy, stamened into sky, cerulean singing against the clean white buds. Across the strawberry fields, thaw, and what survives, the breaking into heat given freely to outrun the cantering dark. There is no northern limit to the capacity for awe. Leaving the sea, a child throws the light back at the sky like a chucked blade. Waves on the winter water break into careful pleats. There is a vigilance to it, the desire to include everything. Tulips pouring out of the lean earth, Atlantean fists, bulbs big as brains. Why is the dark so dazzling? Abacus as much net as mirror. Dear slow motion enemy, soft as milk, we can make an Eden out of even this. Larvae swimming in the black earth, absorbed and absorbing the universe. The apples fallen ripe through the sheer breeze, turned glossy as diamonds, wet with their own certain aliveness. I want to sit with you in the molten hot center of things. Hunger and silence, entirely minted. We only have so much time. Held still, the breath is the breadth that outlines the whole, this phenomenal body, great machine of a body that turns as a blossom turns, somersaults of fragrance and rot. I close my eyes and see how the wind holds the valley, honestly, despite itself ripening magic on top of magic on top of magic. There is a way to the light if we want it. Familial fingerprints, gold-threaded globes on the window panes, and beyond them, an allegiance that fans out. Beyond the buoys, beyond the bridge lit inside the mind, out of the only country we know, out where the darkness is a mirror seen through to, the place beyond dimension, beyond the last blue rift in possibility where everything splits and shimmers, beyond what brought us here and what will take us back. Okay, that's the end. I think I've read almost every poem in this book. That was amazing. It's the extended version. Yay! Yay!
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
And we are virtual, but you should be hearing sustained applause.
Yes.
And if you could imagine that we were on Zoom and we had a gallery view here, people would be going like this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I
Yes.
hear it. I
So,
hear it.
Thank
Thank you very much.
so much. Just so many images that you left us before we get to the Q&A. All of the smallest flamingos. Land is metastasized. A continent oceaning. Oceaning. Nice word. Lungs like parachutes. We stand to let the green in, like a class in the lake board. The latest vision of matrimony. The latest vision of matrimony. The water rising up to here. Quitting in the middle of the songs. And I could go on and on.
Yeah, that's
with
a good one.
all of the images, with the memorable images that you're leaving us.
Oh,
So thank you very much
thank
again.
you. That's so great.
Let's
You took
ask
great
some-
notes.
I had some good notes to take. And actually, you're correct. I just kept going
Aw,
because I kept hearing things that I wanted to have notes about. And
I love it.
yes. So let's start the Q&A. And who would you say influenced you as a poet,
Oh,
and why?
I think one thing that has always just impressed me in people's work is a kind of like emotional torque.
Emotional.
torque,
Torque.
like a just raw power, you know. So it's funny, I wasn't thinking about this before, but as you were asking that question, the person that popped into my mind is Richard Siken. Do you know his work?
Not much.
Oh man.
I'd like to know more.
Okay. He's got this book. It's called Crush. It was chosen by Louise Gluck as the Yale Younger. It's some like 2006 or something. I had never read anything like it. It blew my mind entirely. Just the, it's like a locomotive of emotion, of emotional. It's like a full-on steam engine that is powered exclusively by just raw emotional energy. So interesting. So that made a huge impression on me. A poet named Eric Baus also made a huge impression on me. And I think his influence is more seen in those housekeeping poems. He has a book called The Two Sound, which is very sonically driven. And I found it at a time when I was becoming sort of bored with poetry and my poetry classes, and I don't know, I sort of hit a wall, and when I found his work, I just sort of discovered a whole other avenue of meaning making. And that's what brought me back into writing at the time. So
when was this?
that was probably when I was a sophomore in college. I don't remember. I don't know what year that was. Math, it's tough, you know. I don't know. Sometime back then. But I had been really interested in poetry, since sometime in middle school. But I'd always sort of thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to write poems, and sometime in that like early college zone, I was just I didn't want to do it anymore until I discovered this whole new way of creating images and that focus on the sound being the most important part. Like the images are incredible, but it really is the sound that's happening within it. It's remarkable. It blew my mind. So that got me back into it. Wow. Yeah, I think those two maybe the biggest, most important influences on my work. I mean, Sylvia Plath is gave birth to emotional torque. So, I mean, she's phenomenal, but I always feel weird bringing her up just because, I don't know. I liked her so much in middle school, probably, like everybody. But just, which I think is a shame because her work is so gorgeous. It's so precise in its devastation. It's like it's the most precise devastation, which is great. Yeah, those guys.
Thank you.
Great. Oh yeah.
Here's a question from Paul Ann Peterson.
Hi.
Please tell us a little about Cave Canem.
Oh man.
Did you work with Cornelius Eady?
Yeah, totally. Cornelius Eady, definitely. Claudia Rankin was there. She also was my my writing, advanced poetry writing or something in college. She was my professor my senior year. Who else was there? It was such a great assortment of faculty. Terrence Hayes. Anyway, Toy Derricotte, incredible. But yeah, that was, I think, the premise is it's a 3-week fellowship divided up over 5 years. So you go 3 years within that 5. And every day it's a fellowship for Black poets. I forgot to mention that. Every day of the experience, you have to write a poem the night before. which like I am the slowest writer on just conceivable, just in the world. So that was very uncomfortable for me personally. But you write these poems, and then the very next day you have a workshop with a different leader of these poet leaders, and we all read each other's work and workshop it. But it's very it's very raw a little bit. I'm not someone I don't really share my work a lot. Like I don't no one else will see something I'm working on until I've spent like 3 weeks with it and know it by heart, right? Mm-hmm. So that was uncomfortable for me. But at the time, the more time that passes from that experience, the more I realize how much I learned there, the magnitude and the way in which some of those sort of lessons have continued to influence my work and what I want for it. So very cool.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Here's a question from Lex Runciman. Your poems make marvelous images and marvelous jumps. Could you talk about how you decide what follows what?
I don't know. I don't know. That is a great question. That is the question, I think. How do I decide what follows what? I feel it. That's the answer. I just feel it. It's feeling. Which feels like such a, I wish I had like a kernel of useful knowledge to impart there, oh, here's the trick. 3 quick ways to figure out the order of your image soundy poems. But I don't have one. I just have my feelings. And it took me a very, 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 very long time to become comfortable with talking about how much intuition is a part of my process writing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm too old not to tell the truth about that. I don't have like a lot of like crafty answers. It just is, I don't know, very, very intuitive, very, a lot of listening. Listening. Yeah. I listen. Yeah.
You mean listening to yourself?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Listening to just like, just a lot of like openness and curiosity and wonder more than like, I know what I am doing, because that doesn't happen.
Okay. Thank you for that. Here's a question from Andrea Hollander. I see that you've taught at the Attic and perhaps elsewhere. How does teaching affect your writing?
That's a great question, too. I find teaching very energizing. The classes, well, that's not true. Okay, but a lot of my Attic classes are like evening classes. And I find that exiting those classes, I am like I'm high on life, stoked about everything, just ready to go, Poetry is the best thing in the world. Everything is magnificent. So it really is like sort of a shot of energy and it makes me fall in love with poetry again. It's like once a week, falling in love, just again and again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's the main contribution that teaching makes to my work, is just that sort of like reinvigoration of energy for it, for writing, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Let's take a couple more questions, and then Ashley has a poem that she's going to finish the reading with tonight. And I'll see if my lovely wife Jane has anything you want to ask Ashley.
I was wondering what your first poem was and what it was about, your very first.
The first poem I wrote?
Yes.
Oh my God, I don't know, it was probably about a boy. I was probably 12. I don't know. I can't remember. Somewhere, I'm sure those notebooks are lying around in my mom's attic. Maybe. Just actually probably thrown them away by now. But yeah, I don't know that I would want to revisit them at all. I really hope they get lost. Never, you know. I mean, it's embarrassing, you know. Come on. Yikes.
Oh, okay. Question from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, who are you reading?
Who am I reading? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Jake Skeets right now. You know his work? Oh man, ridiculous. He has a book called, great title also, Eyes Bottle Dark and a Mouthful of Flowers. Phenomenal. So I'm reading his book again. I love it so much. It's so great. Please read it. And I will tell you, since it's only the three of us, that I love zombie novels. So I've been reading a lot of those, just tearing them up before bed. It's like a bedtime story. It's so great. So great. Love them. Try them out. Oh, and this is like the best book I've read in the last 5 years. It's a series. It's called The Three Body Problem. It's by a Chinese author named, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, Cixin Liu, Cixinliu. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I'm not kidding. I recommend it to my students sometimes. And they write me emails when they finish the 3-book series like 6 months later, because it's a lot, telling me they loved it. So it's for real. It's so good. Please read it. Netflix is going to make it into a TV series, and it's going to be awful. So please read the books. Save yourself. So sad. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. This is so
has been-
fun.
yeah.
This is so great.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Questions and answers.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for being here. Do you have a poem that
Yeah, I
you
do.
want to end with?
Yeah. This is the last poem of Spectra. It's very it's very short. Come on, buddy. Where'd you go? Okay. Spectra. It is dusk on Earth. I see myself through you. In the last pew of the lit horizon, in the wide open field of the now, the gaze is the fabric that wraps the whole world. Across the blue tilt, Salt Lick, the only country we know, blinking with warmth and a belonging that grows as a tulip grows, plunged into darkness, then emergent, neon, unraveling toward the next kind thing. That's the end.
What a wonderful
Yay.
thing to end on.
Yes.
The next kind thing. I want to thank you all for being here for the reading tonight. I want to thank Ashley Toliver for being our poet. Doug Stone is going to be here next month in February. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Tom Hogan. Good night.